Yo, it's your boy. Let's do this. Crowdfunding for April. What are the games you need to know about for April? What are the games you need to have on your radar? What are the games that are interesting, have caught my eye, are going to make some waves, make some money, or just make some trouble? And that's what we're talking about. Things that I have my eye on, things that you might be interested in. If you are a subscriber to the channel, you know how our tastes line up. You also know that I cover a fair, wide smattering of things across the board. So tune in, buckle up, and let's go over some freaking crowdfunding games, because March, truth be told, March was a little bit lower overall than I was hoping, now that we're at the end of it and going into new things in April, spring showers and all of that things that they say. But April has the makings of something a little bit better. And again, there's always a few surprises along the way, so we'll see what a few of the biggies have in store for us. You ready? Let's go. Now, first up, we're actually talking about one that I have a hands-on copy of, sort of, asterisk. Hubworld Aidalon from Earthborn Games, right? It now actually has 41 ratings at the time of me filming this because, in case you weren't aware, they partnered up with Team Covenant, yes, the Team Covenant TCG LCG folks, to mass produce these preview decks and then send them out. And I think they said there's something like over 1,600 of these. Yeah, I paid for shipping, essentially, is what that cost, because it was free otherwise. And probably shortly after this video, in the next week or so, well before the beginning of the campaign, hopefully, otherwise things have gone wrong, I will be having a shorter video talking about this, or talking about several other card games all in one. We'll kind of see how it goes. But this is what people are saying as the next evolution. No, not next evolution, but, you know, in the lines of a Netrunner-esque vibe in the LCG world that Earthborn was known to, well, make their mark in with Earthborn Rangers. The description of it is where the Netrunner-esque vibe comes from, because, and you're basically a seeker navigating your opponent's districts, trying to expand your network of agents before your opponent can. So the Netrunner infiltration vibe, and you've got deck construction, you've got your hand management, and you've got to get your 3 agents from your opponent before they do the same to you. You have 3 districts, you have a 3x3 grid, you load it up with dangerous defenses and distractions, or even agents themselves to balance it and create a card combo economy that's going to outdo your opponent. So again, this is probably going to be a biggest hit or miss for people as a whole. The thing I'll say with this one strikes me as one of those games you are going to see a ton of people interested, hyping, and backing this game, you know, more than maybe anything else, apart from one other that we'll talk about in a little bit later this video, of a game that you should not back because it doesn't fit you. It doesn't fit what you can get played. That is the main thing with this. If you don't do this, no matter how pretty, how high the ratings are, it's going to be a swing and a miss. It's going to sit on your shelf. You're going to spend too much on it and it won't work. And the question is, how different is it, right? The previous next Netrunner was Pagan, Fane of Roanoke right here, right? But I don't see a lot of people interested or playing that or hyping that. Yeah, it did, you know, a lot better on its second crowdfunding campaign. But for all these people that say they want more Netrunner or more games like this, again, don't always put their money where their mouth is, or they're just happy with Netrunner in the first place. And so it's sort of like Team Standee, right? Like, I hype and I am super interested in standees, and people clamor for them, but when time comes, they don't back it, right? And so that's what these two I fear. Although, I mean, again, this has more hype and pedigree from a publisher than, you know, that one does. So take that for what you will, but that's why it's number 1. And let's just stay with this on a quick second as the similar but different vibe with the upcoming combination of Chip Theory meets Game Crafter from the designer of Gloomhaven Buttons and Bugs with Dragons of Etchinstone, right? A button-shy-esque game, 19 card sort of dungeon crawl mage knight-esque situation. And you go up against dragons to defeat them and gain XP and manage your journey and defeat your enemies and downgrade your action cards potentially if you're losing. So it gives you those vibes. Now, if you liked button shy games, but you want to pay, you know, 2 or 3 times the price, this is perfect for you because they're going with PVC cards. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. You can have a little bit more upgraded version. And that's essentially what they're offering with this. Now, I'm hopeful that the price point is going to be relatively not 3 to 4 times it, but ultimately with an expansion coming along in PvC, as nice as PvC is, it's also completely and utterly unnecessary. That being said, some people like to bling out their games, and I have nothing wrong with that either. And if so, this is your blinger, this is your blinger. But again, the similar point to number 1 is that you're going to see a lot of people backing this. There are 11,000 people following this chip theory. And that's the main thing, right? It's a chip theory, but it's a solo card driven 19 card system. And if button shy in that aspect ain't your thing, slapping a fantasy theme on it probably ain't going to make it your thing either. And that would be what I would put out there, because this is not necessarily an unknown product. This has been out for a couple years. So the expansion might be a little bit of that, and accessibility is awesome, but if you're not a solo game player, this is probably not going to be the one that's going to change your mind. Then we're talking about more abundance. Ooh, good tie-in there, Chris. An abundance more so of Earth, because the first expansion was an abundance. Now we're getting the kingdom that is more Earth in the form of animals. Animals with asymmetric abilities, which again begs the question, when you already have such a significant tabulation-based tableau builder, engine building situation with Earth, and then you're adding abundance with a new mechanism and a new resource, and then you're adding more asymmetric scoring conditions and more asymmetric powers to, pile on top of that. When is too much, right? Do you play with all of the Everdell expansions all in one? Do you play with all of the Carcassonne expansions all in one? Do you play with the Wingspan expansions all in one? And again, yes, those are a lot more than, 2 expansions on top of a base game here. Or the main question, maybe more apt comparison for me personally, is Space Base. I love Space Base, one of our most played games, my wife and I. I lose every time. I have to say that every time, right? One time in 30. But the main gist where I'm going with this is the Shy Pluto expansion was the first one that came out that gave it more legs and more life, and people were really interested by it. I hate the Shy Pluto expansion. I hate it. Don't like it. We don't use 3/4 of the stuff from it. We love the Genesis expansion, which makes some of the strategies that weren't as viable in the base game and the first expansion much more viable, and it just gives more of the good stuff without overcomplicating it for us. And so I own both of them. I only really play with one of them, and we've sort of slowly been filtering out most of the Shy Pluto cards because we don't like a good portion of them as they come up. And so are you going to have Abundance, which is, awesome, and then get Animal Kingdom, and then decide that you like the combination of one over the other, or a combination of slightly this and slightly that? And so can you buy another expansion? And I guess I would wonder, is Earth going to keep up its momentum of these million, essentially almost nearly plus or minus dollar campaigns for a card-driven, non-super over-the-top, deluxeified tabletop crowdfunding games in the first place? Because those are also, and I give them kudos every time, few and far between, that don't have a lot of that stuff that still come near or at that mark, which is freaking amazing. So it might not be for you, but you got to give kudos where kudos is due. I just hope that it's not like we get this in the middle of 2026 situation, especially if it's an expansion. I'd be hoping for, at latest Q1 2026 at this point. But you know what? It may be what it may be, and we'll see what tariffs kind of do with all these things too, and screw with things. And how much are tariffs going to affect backing now? Ooh, another interesting question mark there for a whole separate video. Next up, we have Bitewing coming back with a duo of games, Gazebo and Gingham. Gazebo is a remake of a previous game, while Gingham's a new one. And again, they're going back with the Nizia remaking of their previous. And Gazebo, you're forming a botanical garden with dominoes in a race to make erect gazebos. And the first player to place all of your gazebos on the board wins. It's a re-implementation of the game. I'm going to mispronounce this, Quinn. Quin. And again, I hate saying things wrong on this channel, even though I do it all the time. But it's really interesting, and I love this fact. And I love the fact that Bitewing is very transparent with this, that if you go and look on the Board Game Geek page right now, it says how explicitly this is different. Right on the description, you don't even have to go to the forums. It says, improving the method of drawing all of the colored dominoes for less luck, more tension, increasing the variety of features with new game maps and expansion maps, deepening the strategic possibilities of spaces, vases, and pedestals, more conflicts, debuting a new partnership mode for 4 players, condensing it into a smaller and more portable package, broadening the appeal and giving a more, maybe appealing theme overall. So say what they will, it's a little bit like Chip Theory with some of their later, re-entries into these remakes. But again, it reminds me more of a very good way of the game that they redid down here that I was just talking about in a separate video as well, of Zuvadis, where this game was really, really well done and improved because, spoilers for maybe one of my unpopular board game video opinions that's going to come out after this, of remakes that don't really do that and they just slap a new skin on it like a video game and call it good. So that's number one, and that one, it has me super excited. Gingham is interesting too because you're deploying ants on a picnic blanket, right? Thematic, what is going on in this video all over the place, but connect your stockpile of sweets as you place your queen, but then that subsequently forces you to only place your ants in a certain row, so you're trying to how far, how long can you stretch, and that dynamic of better variability, going sooner for better placement, all of those aspects as a new game. So again, 2 really interesting dynamic games, and they put out a very solid product. And I like these multi-games because I think overall it helps these companies gauge interest and it helps them just get more product out there. And it's just kind of cool to see smaller companies like them all play 25th century doing these and being successful at all various levels of these multi-game campaigns. So I, say what you will, like them, but again, always asterisks, don't buy them all if they're all not perfect for you. Then we have to talk about Steamforge. Steamforge, I'm still waiting for my email back. Just kidding, I'm not going to have anything covering this, but Helldivers 2 is coming over on GameFound based on the, third-person squad-based shooter. And we're going to see how many, alien bugs you can kill, essentially. Plenty of model pictures over on the GameFound page. So how well is this going to work? This gives me like odd combination vibes of 2 games that are like a thematic smash up if you smushed them together, and I'm hoping maybe even mechanically speaking, of Project Elite and Six Siege, as weird as that sounds. And so I don't have any details or any knowledge of what it is actually going to be doing, but that's kind of how I feel, right? And so is it just going to be a straight crawl, mission-based, scenario-based, variability, a little more like a Project Elite? Is it going to have any real-time elements? That'd be kind of cool, actually, Or is it going to be more like a Six Siege where you're very tactically, more skirmish style, maybe more like an Apex Legends, which is being in the process of delivered currently, not only from a, head-to-head, but that actually comes with a cooperative mode too, going up against an AI dummy team system. And so it gives me vibes of that as well. And there are several updates already on the Board Game Geek page that's launching on the 8th, and there are nearly 22,000 followers for this right now. Protect Super Earth and rid the alien threats. So we're going to see what this does. Again, this is one of those, I'd make the argument that it reminds me more of something akin to Gods of War, where the absolute presence, video game wise, of this IP is huge. And this one is even hotter because it's even more recent and on more people's radars, because of the hype cycle, even on the video game side of things that happens. So what is Steamforge going to have? Some good things about Elden Ring. I'd love to be able to play Elden Ring to give my own thoughts and comparisons on, so maybe I'll be able to do that in the future. If this Elden Ring Monster Hunter World, they've got their thing, they've got their vibe, and now with Six Siege as well, I'm looking at this more heavily than I was before. So is it going to be for me? And I say that as someone who has absolutely zero nostalgia or previous experience or previous any sort of passing interest in the video game in the first place. Show me what you can do tabletop wise. Show me why it's unique. Show me what makes it stand out from anything similar in the crawl, PvE, player versus environment style games like a Massive Darkness 2. Give me your uniqueness. Give it to me up front. Show me, show me, show me. And that 22,000 people follower thing is going to potentially produce massive results. But again, it also makes me wonder in these situations, how much of this is going to be people that love Helldivers getting into the tabletop that aren't regular tabletoppers, or how many tabletoppers are looking at this and going, this is better than some of the other stuff I already have. I also wonder if the Kickstarter walk-up feature, just it's there, it's present, a lot more browsing, could raise its stock and profile even further, but we'll see what it does on GamePound, and I'm going to be following very closely. I covered this one as well at the beginning of the year of the upcoming anticipated crowdfunding games as well from Studio Midhall, the folks who brought you Beast and Beast Shattered Isles. The next in the Beast world is called Hollow Pact, which is coming out towards us at the end of the month as well. The beasts are hunting, the scoundrels are stealing and betraying, and you're just trying to stay afloat in a semi-cooperative nature. And that's the thing that sort of worries me as a survival strategy and betrayal game. You go into the town, you're going into the lair of the beast, and you're grabbing stuff, you're trying to play to your strengths, plead with the spirits, and escape with loot and life, because you can get betrayed, you can get killed, or you can have your own hidden agenda to backstab everyone along the way. One player does control the beast, though, and so they have secret goals. No two sessions the same. Is it going to be truly a one versus all? What sort of dynamics are we going to see with this? It does say 1 to 4 players on the Board Game Geek page right now. So, can you do an AI system? What is the solo going to look like in that regard? I want to see how these dynamics are going to make it work, because I love the idea and the thought behind semi-cooperative, but I don't like most of the execution in the hobby, right? Like even Dead of Winter. I love Dead of Winter, right? Again, dating myself. People are going to poo-poo that. But we normally just toss out the semi-cooperative Dead of Winter. We toss out the Marvel Legendary semi-cooperative. We just play it straight up. And so is this going to be engaging enough to make me feel like if I'm not as big a fan of that mechanic in general, it can still hook me in and grab me and keep me as interested as I want to be with all of the other thematic descriptions and, ideals behind this game in the first place. I could not forget, of course, from All Play, potentially still launching this month towards the end. Joe from All Play said over in the comment section on the Board Game Geek forums for Sale Legacy that they're still trying to get reviewer copies into hands of people well before they want to launch the campaign. So we'll see if that one goes. And if you're not familiar with Sale, it's sitting right over here. The original Sale is a 2-player trick-taking game where you try and navigate via the use of tricks your boat across the center board. It's hard. It's difficult. My wife and I just didn't click with. However, I have higher hopes for the Legacy version, if you will, because I think that it just looks better. I think that you do a 2.0 version in a Legacy form, and I'm okay with that. I'm looking at it more like a Regicide Legacy, if you will. But they say it's not going to be, reusable in that sense. They're very clear about that in the forums. And again, I like the transparency, right? Every game, not for every person, and I am completely freaking okay with that as well. So hopefully that launches before the end of the month, and we'll see what it has in store for us, right? How much can you pack in that style of 2-player game? But speaking of other 2-player games, this is probably one of my more anticipated 2-player dueling games I didn't think I'd actually have any interest in, and that's Flamecraft Dual, because it's not Duel, Dual. And it's Flamecraft, only it's not Flamecraft, and that's where it's good, right? You're grabbing the IP and milking the IP, but you're making a completely different game in order to market it. It's a 2-player travel-friendly game of pattern matching and quick puzzly fun. You get dragons with new powers, and you got to get your dragons in a row, right? Fill them up, fire up the abilities, make matches, complete card shops, abstract pattern building. It's an abstract game with a dragon theme. It's Mythic Mischief in that way. So if you want cute dragons, all you have to do is match patterns on shop cards in your hand to score them, right? All the dragons are drawn, the game ends. Most points based on the most cards completed wins. Boom, has it on my wish list. Really interested, actually. Really, really interested. And I'd say that as someone who had no interest in the original Flamecraft in the first place. Then, speaking of things I used to have a ton of interest in, but now have, worries that it's jumped the shark. But that's the next Aeon's End from Indie Board and Cards. Again, I want more of this. Don't be fooled by my statement there, right? It's a little tongue-in-cheek. It's a little bit of, both sides of the fence. I want more. I just can't afford to play more, right? And that's where Beyond the Breach is apparently bringing us friends and expose as another layer of incorporation. Preview video available. So if you like paid content, and hopefully we'll get a little bit more info. I think there's one or two other videos smatterings out there, but hopefully we'll get a few more opinions on it before the campaign launches towards the end of the month. I mean, Aeon's End, right? Deck builder, cooperative, fight a big bad nemesis, got tiers of minions doing what Aeon's End does. And it's a very, very solid game. Absolutely love it. Don't get it played enough. Have too much from what it is already. Just when you think you're out, though, new mechanic maybe to FOMO you back in, because they do a little bit of exclusives as well as a little bit of package promo content, slightly less than what you might find at a retail bundling. And of course, we can't forget about, well, I thought it was going to be a standalone expansion, but it's actually coming to crowdfunding because Matago is working with Christian Martinez, the designer of Enos, to give you more Enos. I thought it was just going to be expansion, the Nemeth expansion, but it's going to be a big box with additional modules from the get-go, including the already previously out expansion, as well as the new one in a whole big box of stuff as you're trying to be elected via death, the King of the Islands, right? In Celtic lore and history. Casual draft management, hand card play, and bluffing in order to achieve your endgame victory conditions as an area control majority style game that does stuff slightly different than its contemporaries and compatriots, which has made it stand out. Say what you will, there's a little bit of argument going on in the forum section about whether or not people like the new big box artwork. I kind of like it. It makes it stand out from everything else dark gray and drabby on my shelves sometimes, so I'm okay with it. But again, sort of like with the question that we raised earlier in the video with Earth, can you have an abundance of Enos as well? And following that, we have an interesting entry from Ape Games. You might know Ape Games from their most recent one, Pompero, right? If this isn't a complete and utter departure from Pompero, I don't know what is. But this is called Dealers in Hope. And this is a basically mech-driven style post-apocalyptic deck building game of conflict with your faction leaders trying to control a future Europe. Your leader determines how you're going to be scoring in your asymmetric faction-based deck building conundrum. You're going to have several different types of cards, professional cards with different levels, training them to get stronger, attack, defense, support, and effects, head-to-head. Take that, because you're going to be using them to attack and getting defenders to play cards in response, and one more chance to beat defender if you're better than they are. You gain territory, so there's going to be a little bit of area control there as well. Interesting player count here with 2 to 5. So how do you not play King of the Hill? Who do you choose to target? How is the targeting system going to work? How is the turn navigation going to work? What is the market style going to be looking like? What is the benefit or the strategy behind the territories and the area majority or area effects in the first place? A lot of unknowns, but a lot of very interesting combinations of things that we don't always see quite in that grouping. I really want to see what Ape Games can do with this one, and that's why it's on my radar. Although the time frame worries me a little bit, because it does say 1.5 hours to 3 hours. That could be a little bit of a slog unless the turns are really snappy. So wait and see with that one as well. And Borg Cubator is also coming back to square one. No, really. Their latest, style of Tetris, fill amount card polyomino games is called Square One. And so they're coming back with an expansion called Combo Master, engine building strategy, just like its predecessor. Easy to learn, hard to master. Offers high replayability for the whole family. Complete sequences and get designed tactile pieces and combos. That's more than just a sequel. It's a whole nother challenge puzzle style wise. Again, another one I've always wanted to have my hands on, but never actually got to do or play. And so it's one of those games where I feel like, especially as a tile laying lover, an engine building combo person lover, this one could be an absolute smash hit. But it's also one of those games I feel like until I get my hands on, I kind of, am I actually going to like it? I could see it going both ways, because we've all, again, had those games. I've covered plenty of my own personal struggles where you look at it and you go, up here, this should be an absolute knock it out of the park smash hit. And then you play it and you go, what the freaking deuce just happened? Why didn't I find myself enjoying myself? And that's how I just have fears of games like this. You know, again, under an hour, under 45 minutes, even under half an hour for this, with the combo master basically just giving you a new sequence after completion that gives you a bonus action. So you stack your actions up and unleash them later to perform a mega combo, seamlessly integrating with the base game. So is that intriguing to you? I mean, again, there's so few ratings on Board Game Geek at this point. There's only 100 ratings. It's got 7.4. So again, sample size, the N is way too small in this one. But what's the situation going to look like? Because some of their exclusive stuff as well with their previous predecessor game really didn't end up at retail. And so that was a little off-putting to people. So what is this going to look like? Or is it going to be a lot of that? We'll kind of wait and see. Going over to Monolith. One of Monolith's earlier announced projects towards the beginning of the year when they sort of laid out their plan. It's not the one I'm most anticipating. That's later this year. But Reichbusters Reloaded. Going back and stomping and killing some Nazis. Yep, let's do it. Infiltrating the Third Reich without triggering their alarms. Cooperative-based, mission, miniature-driven allied heroes against the soldiers of an alternative Third Reich of weird science, right? Interesting description for a little bit of a skirmish crawl game. Elite commandos, super awesome abilities. Rounds are played until you meet conditions. So it's not just a smash and grab. The problem is, unlike we were talking about with Bitewing's games earlier, there is nothing on the page right now that tells me, or on the forum sections, or on the video sections that says, what is this different? How is this different? What is this doing separately if I was interested in Reichbusters previously and didn't get it, or have Reichbusters already and want to know what more is? Is it going to be a situation of Death May Die or Nemesis along those lines? What is the incentive? Why? Is it better? Is it 2.0? Is it 1.3? Is it completely different altogether in terms of some of this stuff? No information. So we're just gonna have to wait and see until it launches to kind of find out in that regard. And similarly, it's kind of a wait and see with this next one, and I'm not sure because it looks like it may be delayed, but they had originally announced like a month or two ago, the folks over at Portland Gaming Collective, with one of my favorite trick-taking games, Tricktakers, with sort of an asymmetric root-like trick-taking aspect of characters that score differently and depending on how they take their tricks and how many points they score and all of that sort of stuff, is importing the Tricktakers Expansion as part of a 3-game collective crowdfunding campaign. Like many of the ones I mentioned earlier that do a great situation, this is Portland Gaming's thing. They do a lot of the trick-taking, so this is one of the 3 trick-takings that's going to be offered in that, well, offering, if you will, for lack of a better description or term. And so this is just going to give more characters. So I'm really interested to see. They said initially when they sort of hinted at it, late March, early April, but it's sort of been, you know, nothing on the radar in terms of comments, updates, or further remarks in that regard. So put that with a little bit of asterisk question mark right now, because I could see that launching. I could also see if they're just not ready, it easily just getting delayed further. But you know what? So what? But I thought I'd just at least mention it. Towards the end here, Bezier is coming back with Maglev, more Maglev. And if you're not familiar with Maglev Metro, the future of public transportation with magnetic levitation trains, which just reminds me the fact that, you know, we're never going to get a decent public transportation system in America here. That's a whole nother issue as well. Magnetic levitation technology, and you're getting 6 more maps with this Volume 2 expansion to give you a total of 14 offered with the base game and the original. The interesting aspect is I'm not sure what they're going to be doing bundle-wise with this. There is a video talking about the expansions Volume 1 and 2 from Bezier. There's a 14-second clip on it. But really what I'm wondering is if they're going to go with their previous, crowdfunding offerings of like Castles of the Mad King Ludwig and Silver and make this huge box and over deluxeifications and that sort of thing. So we'll kind of see when that goes live as well. And then one last one here, I'm just going to put on your radar, especially if you've got family, kids, or you like easy cooperative games along those lines, from a company called Smart Up, called Fairytale. Pets turned heroes journey through fairy tale adventures to find their lost family. Dungeon crawler, perfect for families and experienced gamers alike. Well, okay, choose your armor, your weapons, your abilities, get one of the many stories, and you get an inspired world based on classic fairy tales 4 base heroes, 2 more from each expansion. I don't really need the unique miniatures, but they have unique decks, fully customizable player boards, 23 unique encounters, 3 formidable bosses. So I'm hoping it's more like a Chronicles of Evil sort of situation as a next, just a step up in terms of that type of game for my kids along those lines. So if they can do something along that, I'm really kind of interested, but no forums, no videos at the time of me filming this, only some pictures that kind of lay out what you're going to be upgrading, which again, hard to interpret. What are the differences? How is it going to be interacting? Setup, teardown, complexity, overhead. How much am I going to have to pick up and do in terms of just managing it all for my kids in the first place? So we'll see. But again, it's at least on my radar, and don't be surprised if we talk about other dark horses between now and the end of the month, because every single week I do a crowdfunding roundup-ish asterisk. I've been, out of sorts the last 2 weeks on vacation, so the next 1 or 2 may have a few more than what you're used to and maybe more than what I want to do. So we'll see how it goes, but tune in, subscribe, and I'll see you around. And also I owe the Patreon folks a video because it's been a while because I've been on vacation. So if you want to support me there too, hit me up. Okay, peace out. Stay classy. Have a great freaking fantastic day. Thanks for watching.